Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 7, what Prahlad learned in the womb, text number 28. Tasmad bhavadvi kartavyam karmanam trigunatmanam bija nirharanam yoga pravaho paramodiya. Tasmad bhavadvi kartavyam karmanam trigunatmanam bija nirharanam yoga pravaho paramodiya.
Tasmad bhavadvi kartavyam karmanam trigunatmanam bija nirharanam yoga pravaho paramodiya. Tasmad bhavadvi kartavyam karmanam trigunatmanam bija nirharanam yoga pravaho paramodiya.
Tommy.
Tasmad bhavadvi kartavyam karmanam trigunatmanam bija nirharanam yoga pravaho paramodiya.
Tasmat, therefore, bhavadvi, by your good selves, kartavyam, to be done, karmanam, of all material activities, triguna atmanam, conditioned by the three modes of material nature, bija nirharanam, burning of the seed, yoga, the process by which one can be linked with the Supreme, pravaha, of the continuous current in the form of wakefulness, dreaming and deep sleep, uparama, the cessation, diya, of the intelligence. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Therefore, my dear friends, O sons of the demons, your duty is to take to Krishna consciousness, which can burn the seed or fruit of activities artificially created by the modes of material nature, and stop the flow of the intelligence and wakefulness, dreaming and deep sleep. In other words, when one takes the Krishna consciousness, his ignorance is immediately dissipated. Purport, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 14:26, Mam Jayo Vyabhicharina Bhakti Yogena Sevate Sagunan Samati Dhyaitan Brahma Bhuyaya Kapate. One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. By the practice of Bhakti Yoga, one immediately comes to the spiritual platform, transcendental to the actions and reactions of the three modes of material nature. The root of ignorance is material consciousness, which must be killed by spiritual consciousness or Krishna consciousness. The word bija nirharanam refers to burning the root cause of material life to ashes. The Medini dictionary, yoga is explained by its result. Yoge pravarta samprapto Sangati Dhyana Yuktishu. When one is put into an awkward position because of ignorance, the process by which one can be freed from this entanglement is called yoga. This is also called liberation. Muktir hidvanyata rupam srupena vyavyastiti. Mukti means giving up one's position in ignorance or illusion, in which one thinks in a way contrary to his constitutional position. Returning to one's constitutional position is called mukti, and the process by which one does this is called yoga. This yoga is above karma, jnana, and sankhya. Indeed, yoga is the ultimate goal of life. Krishna therefore advised Arjuna to become a yogi, tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. Lord Krishna further advised in Bhagavad Gita that the first-class yogi is one who has come to the platform of devotional service. Yoginam api sarvesham magditenandaratmana shadavan bhajate yomam sameyuktatamo mataha. Of all yogis, he always abides me with great faith, worshiping me in transcendent loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga, and is the highest of all. Thus, one who always thinks of Krishna within the core of his heart is the best yogi. By practicing this best of all yoga systems, one is liberated from the material condition. Tasmad bhavadbir kartavyam karmanam trigunatmanam bija nirharanam yoga pravaho paramodiya. Therefore, my dear friends, O sons of the demons, your duty is to take to Krishna consciousness, which can burn the seed of fruitive activities artificially created by the modes of material nature, and stop the flow of the intelligence of wakefulness, dreaming, and deep sleep. In other words, when one takes the Krishna consciousness, his ignorance is immediately dissipated. Om Vishnu Vidaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutaya Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tanamane Namaste Saraswatam Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskyatyade Satarane. Here there's certain words that are used, such as Krishna consciousness. All we do is have to take the Krishna consciousness, as if it was something that was being, someone waits at the door as we leave the door. As we leave this room, someone gives us Krishna consciousness and we just take it. We may hope like that. Someone's going to hand out free Krishna consciousness on the way out. And the other thing, we just have to get free from ignorance. Simple. Take a long bath and hot water, and the ignorance will just go away. Or taking a race and just rub off all the wrong things. No, there's a process. It doesn't happen just automatically. Somehow or another, I think I'm a nice person. Krishna must like me. Therefore, he should give me everything I need, like Krishna consciousness, and take away all my ignorance because I'm a good person. I kind of chant my rounds every day. I follow these externally, the four regular principles, most of the time. And I'm nice to my dog or my friends. What more could Krishna want? No one's perfect. No, Krishna gives us a very exacting scientific process, which is not so complicated. The only complication is we don't want to follow the process, and we want to get the result of the process without following it. The example is if you want to get the golden egg, you have to feed the goose. And you think, well, that's too much trouble. Better just cut off the part of the hen that you have to feed and just take the golden egg out the other side. Simple. But if we want to get the result, we have to follow the process. To follow the process, we have to find out what the process is. And when we find out what the process is, we have to understand the process. We have to become convinced that I should fully engage in it because the process is quite complete. And part of the process is, one way or another, we have to give up the things that are not part of the process. Now, since we've been addicted since time immemorial to the things that are not part of the process, and that people will think, well, this is a little too austere. It's a little too much to ask for. These are as Prabhupada was talking to one social worker in Melbourne. And the social worker Prabhupada was explaining about, you should support us. And he said, no, we have to follow the government because we're supposed to do what the people want. And Prabhupada said, we're also part of the people, so you should do what we want. He didn't quite understand all this, the social worker, part of the government social work in Australia. So, and then Prabhupada was talking something about the Four Way Principles. And the man said, well, what's wrong with illicit sex? I like illicit sex. My wife and they like it. It's enjoyable. What's wrong with it? And Prabhupada realized he was not exactly going to convince this man of our philosophy too easily. Because people like material life. They find it interesting. And as a matter of fact, nowadays in society, materialistic life is really cheap. As Prabhupada said at one time, he said, if milk is available in the marketplace, why do you have to have a cow? Just go out and buy the milk. So they made illicit sex, intoxication, gambling, meat eating anything possible, so easily obtained that why will anyone want to follow these principles? Too austere, too weird, with the prospect that in the future you're going to get bliss. Now you have to suffer, give up all the candies that everyone else is eating. With the prospect in the future, you're going to get a bigger candy. People don't accept it so easily. And if their eyes are shut, closed, and you're shining a flashlight in front of them, all they can say is that you may believe in the light, but I don't. Because their eyes are shut. You say, why don't you open your eyes? Because I'm thinking about something too important right now. So people don't, the simple philosophy of Krishna consciousness, unless people are convinced that there is no alternative, that they're simply going to stick with their everyday life because it's comfortable. Because that's what they know, that's what they're used to, and to trade it for something that they're not used to, it's very unlikely. Or they say, the devil that you know is better than I forget what it is. The devil that you know is better than something, but than the saint, than the angel that you don't. So they're used to, they're accustomed to materialistic life. And the whole society, the whole propaganda, from morning to night, from the time you take birth to the time you die, is all meant to convince people in modern society that there is no such thing as spiritual life. It's just a dream created by people who are smoking too much. Old people smoking too much, and they created this dream just to frustrate everyone else. But if you get real, from the beginning of life, people are trolling. If you get real, then there's nothing beyond this body. When you're dead, you're dead. And you better try to enjoy as much as you can now. In order to enjoy, you have to make money. In order to make money, you have to go through our educational system, or else you're going to starve. You won't have a family. You won't have anything. You won't have clothes. You won't have anything to eat. You must go through our educational system and learn science, Darwinism, Freudism, and everything else we're going to teach you. That actually you're nothing but a better version of a monkey. And the only difference between you and a monkey is the monkeys enjoy more than you do. And this is brainwashing people's, not only when they go through, beginning with kindergarten, paint a monkey, Freddie. Oh, there's a monkey. Just throw paint on the thing like a monkey. Wow, how beautiful. You're almost doing as good as the monkeys are. If you try a little bit harder, maybe one time you'll become as good as the monkey. To places like Sweden, where little boys and girls are introduced to little rooms where they can go show and tell with each other, so that you don't have any inhibitions, any mental restraints. You're free. You become spontaneous like a hog. They have the hog acharya. That's their acharya. Like in India, you go to Vrindavan, we have the hog. And the hog sits in the sewer in Vrindavan because there are no closed sewers, they're all open. And the hog sits there with an open mouth, and everything flows in. All the remnants from the Vaishnavas enter into his mouth. And he's in hog heaven. He's getting maha prashadam. And he's completely free to go to sleep as long as he wants. You don't find people waking hogs up in India. Hog, he was sleeping for 36 hours. Why don't you get up, do something with your life? Some people are happy the hog is sleeping. And as far as sex, there's no restraint. There's no law. The hogs are free. They love everyone. Mother, sister, whatever. People in India, they have to take a stick with them when they pass stool in the field because the hog may come after them. And even while they're passing, the hog wants his meal. So they have to have a stick to chase the hog away so they can finish with their business. And the hog defends itself the best it can. It doesn't learn karate or martial arts, but it does the best it can, and that's the best it can do. So the hog is the acharya because the hog is into spontaneous sense gratification. And it's reached the pinnacle of spontaneous sense gratification. And so the hog has become a symbol of progress. Indeed, I remember one time Prabhupada was giving a lecture where he was in Buffalo in 1969. And at that time, the hippies were there, And one of their things was that they take off all their clothes and they go into the mud and play around like they were hogs. As a matter of fact, they play like with the hogs in the mud. This is called progress. And indeed, that's what they're going to progress to becoming. They'll get their desires fulfilled. So this introduction of a process to control the senses by engaging them in God's service. Oh God, God's service. Now you're going to bring God into the picture. We thought it's the last resort, the people think. When you have nothing else scientifically to prove your point, you bring in God. So we become fearful. Oh God, don't hit me. I'll be good. Yes, I'll serve you. Yes. So people think like that this conception of God is just born out of sentiment so that some people can exploit you by demanding service, unquestioning, mindless service from mindless, unquestioning people, full of sentiment and fear of the wrath of God, some God that doesn't existed in the minds of some people who are addicted to smoking in the mountains somewhere because there's nothing else to do. So the idea that there's something scientific, that there's something called the mind, and the mind doesn't understand, is covered, and doesn't understand with its intelligence the fact that this body is changing, but we're not changing, and we'll have another life. Now, people may be very disturbed, the COVID virus, unemployment, so many different things. They think that this is the real problem. But actually, Krishna tells us what the real problem is. He says, Neha bikramana shosti pratyavayo navidite swapamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahatovayat. That on this path, there's no loss of diminution, and a little advancement can protect one from the greatest danger. So what does Krishna see as the greatest danger? Not that we're going to be unemployed, or we'll have to give up our computer because we won't be able to get old and we won't be able to buy a new one. That's a great danger. What will we do? We'll have to give up Facebook. I'd rather give up my face than Facebook. That's not the greatest danger. The greatest danger is using the human form of life and going down to the lowest species of life, where one can't understand that one is eternal anymore and work for it towards eternality, which is available only in the human form of life. Therefore, Krishna speaks Bhagavad Gita to tell us about karma yoga, and he introduces the idea, as people used to believe, that there are forces in this world that are controlling this world that are beyond our current perception or our belief. That the rain is not coming by accident, the wind is not coming by accident. Things in this material world have not come about by accident. They're under control of superior persons and ultimately of a supreme person. And if we don't follow their instructions, then we'll have to suffer materially. And if we really don't follow their instructions and we work in the mode of ignorance, then we'll have to become an animal. But we won't have any ability not to follow their instructions. And he goes to transcendental knowledge, that there's such a thing as knowledge. And knowledge is not going to a university and studying physics and chemistry. It is a kind of knowledge, but it has nothing to do with knowledge about ourselves. You may become a great chemist, a great physicist. You may invent so many different things for this our sense gratification. But at the end, if you become a dog or a hog or an insect, what is the value of your invention? You may have invented an expert method of killing off all the mosquitoes. But since you're meditating on mosquitoes, you become a mosquito in your next lifetime, you'll be killed by your invention. They'll spray you. Oh my God, what did I do? No, real knowledge is to understand the self, our real selves, and to understand the Supreme Self and our process of coming in contact, of consciousness of Him, becoming aware of Him, aware of ourselves, aware of everything as it really is. Getting out of ignorance means to actually simply understand and experience things as they actually are. And what is the process? Krishna begins with Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadeshanti te jnanam jnanena tattvadarshana. Try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they obtain the truth. So this is just a summary. It's not something new. This is what Krishna says at the beginning of the chapter, because, as I said, Bhagavad Gita is not broken up into chapters, but it's a progress of understanding, progression of understanding. So at the beginning of this chapter, Krishna had said that Imam vivishvate yogam pragdavanaham abhiyam vivishvan manave praha Anor Ishvakave Bravit, that I spoke this knowledge to the sun god. And sun god explained it to Manu, and Manu explained it to Ikshvaku. So it's a knowledge coming from Krishna. So the spiritual master is one who repeats what Krishna has to say. And what does Krishna have to say? Krishna has to say a lot of things, but one of the things he says that if you want to understand me, there's a process. It's called submission to my instructions, understanding my instructions by inquiry, and then following them, not blindly, but with knowledge and understanding. And then the result is I'll enlighten you. It's all up to Krishna, whether he enlightens us or not. It's not a mechanical process in the sense that we just follow it and automatically get the result, never mind about Krishna. No, without the process leading us to becoming dependent on Krishna, then the process won't work. It's a dependency upon Krishna that we're trying to cultivate. Therefore, it probably writes in the purport that this knowledge is coming in disciplic succession from Krishna. So when one gets a spiritual master, he should accept such a spiritual master as a menial servant without false prestige. Satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is the secret of advancement in spiritual life. So what does that mean? It means we're trying to cultivate a service attitude towards Krishna and Krishna's instructions and his devotees. In other words, we're trying to become a servant of Krishna's service. And unless we cultivate that attitude, then all our so-called knowledge is just an imaginary. It's all based upon illusion. Because what do we have to be proud about? This body, that I look in my mirror, I think, well, what a wonderful body I have. It's so wonderful. It's certainly worthy of everyone's respect. I give it all respect and service. So everyone else should also do something similar. So everyone else should do something similar. But what is this body? It's just a machine that we're in. And we're not the machine. So why are we so much proud of this prison we've been put into? Why do we want people to admire it and respect it? Why do we want to make advancement for this body? Why are we so concerned about it and not concerned enough for ourselves, our real selves, and our real purpose of life? So that means humility, not false humility, not lack of, what do they call that, self-esteem. No, it means esteem for the real self and using this body appropriately. It means keeping it healthy, keeping it strong, keeping it alert, keeping it everything that's desirable, but not becoming overly infatuated with it to the point that we neglect our spiritual existence, our spiritual progress. So one should be aware of what we're actually trying to achieve. And then if one is put into a situation where one is forced to be humble in Krishna's service, one should not think, how can such a great person like me be humble? It's not worthy of me. I should be proud. People should respect me for their own good, for their own advancement. If they don't respect me, then certainly they'll have spiritual difficulty. So we should worry about our own respect. How much we're respecting everyone else. Amani, just every day we're hearing, or trying to hear. Amanina, mani dinena, kirtiniyak siddhari, hari. That there's a process of becoming aware of Krishna. Tolerance, humility, appreciation. These are the things we're trying to cultivate. And we should be inquisitive how to do it. Not that, oh my God, this is not the field. I came to the Hare Krishna movement to get knowledge, and now they tell me this is knowledge. This is what they told me in school that I should avoid, that this is ignorance. That people were enslaved for so many thousands of years in the Middle Age by these religious fanatics who forced them to become humble and austere, and all these qualities that we've learned to give up from childhood, because we're in the age of enlightenment, post-enlightenment. Therefore, the only hope is that we study these books. We try to think about what they're saying. We look around the world around us, see how happy these people are who are following the present so-called enlightenment. See how safe and secure they feel in this material existence, how progressive they're becoming, how unlimited, unrestricted sex life and intoxication and animal killing and mental speculation and everything else has made everyone so peaceful and happy that I should certainly follow their footsteps. And if I become a dog, if there's such a thing in my next lifetime, I just pray I become a dog in a nice house. In a house of someone who's enlightened in materialistic existence. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions? Yes.
So, what is then the role or the point of devotees going to mundane educational institutions?
You want me to make a point for them to go? I don't know. The devotees, well, one factor is the devotees never established farm communities. They never established economic development outside of the general trend of modern society for one reason or another. And therefore, for the most part, devotees are completely dependent on the current economic system. And they have faith that if I go to school, then I'll be able to fit into the economic system and at least get what I need to exist. So how long that's going to last, who knows? Right now, 50%, I don't know exactly the percentage. I think 50% of the working class in America lost their jobs and they're living on unemployment. So how long can you print that money before people realize it's as good as monopoly money? You can buy a hotel with your money, but only on a monopoly board. How long it's going to last? How long people have faith in this economic system? I don't exactly know how it works, but it appears it doesn't work as well as people would hope it would work. But they have faith. In America, people have faith. I mean, I went to college for almost 4 years, and I didn't pay, my college fees at that time, I was paying $500 a semester. Of course, $500 is a lot more than it is now. But I was all paid for by a scholarship. So by the time I got through with college, I owed zero. Now then, just a short while afterwards, maybe 20 years afterwards, 30 years, it was $50,000 a semester in a good college. So therefore, the students went for 4 years, and if they went to postgraduate school, because the 4-year degree is, worth as much as whatever kind of certificate you can think it's worth. That 50 cents can get you on the bus. So then they have to spend another, few $100,000 or something on their postgraduate degree. So by the time they're done, they owe $500,000-$700,000, and then they have to start paying the interest now. So they spend the rest of their life trying to get a job, and everyone else has a degree. So the only thing that's available is washing dishes. At $1.25 an hour or $2, or maybe they're paying $10 an hour nowadays, whatever they're paying, and you're half of that goes to pay off your college loan. The other half goes to pay for your rent, and then whatever you can get left for eating. And this is the result of higher education, the promise of future. And if you're willing to cheat and steal and whatever else, and then you might get a little bit more ahead of everyone else if you give up all morality. Then you may find a better position in current society. So that, because the main thing is you have to be qualified to have no morality, no conscience, and then you become a worthy candidate of advancing, because the whole thing is to cheat people. Yes, so we can have higher, but maybe force them in order to just get the minimum. Nowadays, you may have to have, a higher degree just to get the minimum. Just become qualified for some useless job. You may have to show that you're subservient and submissive to all the ridiculous information they're going to give you. And after that, then after you go to university, then they can train you in what you're really going to do. Because they've already shown that you're willing to do anything. You can go to a university to get their job. So better than that would be if we actually establish farm communities, we establish, real economic basis, which is, Prabhupada said, land and cows is a real economic system, not university degrees, which is, even when I went to college, I had a friend, he just got his PhD degree, and he tried to get a job, no one would hire him because they said he was overly qualified. So he got a job at a steel mill. To pay off his degree. Working in a steel mill in Buffalo is not exactly heaven, believe me. Anything, thank you. Anything else? Yes.
Hare Krishna. How can we become humble enough, but not artificially?
chant our rounds nicely, read Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, worship the deities, serve the devotees, and try to make the atmosphere spiritual in one's home and try to help the preaching. And Krishna will take care of the rest. Just associate with the devotees and they'll help you. Anyone who gets too puffed up, they help them out. Anything else? Thank you very much. Grandara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande.